This photo is a gigapan. I'll zoom right in. It's a statue. You can see it's a statue right here holding her child. It's amazing. So I started looking around. If we draw back a little bit here, I saw this. It's a wall. You can see the two sides. It's filled in with an insulated material here. It's a wall. I have a lot of experience in building, and I've worked in wall construction, stucco plastering, fiberglass builds. This material inside, right here, you can also see it right there. I'll go in closer. It's a grid-like material. It's probably basalt. Basalt's very prevalent on Mars. About 80% of the surface is basalt. So it can be formed into sheets to be used as a foundation for building these houses. It can also be used in making artwork. Basalt is an ideal material for building because it's very strong and has great insulative properties, and it lasts indefinitely. Sometimes this material, you'll see it here, looks like a cross grid or even a chain link. I'll show you some other areas. If you look in on this wall here, this is actually, you can see the grid beneath the what could be a concrete, fiberglass, or stucco-like finish on it. So as I moved around, I realized that these aren't just walls, but this is a house. And not just a house, it's a house that's been devastated by some kind of enormous atomic blast coming in this direction. Look here how you can see this piece right here was ripped off of what is a perfectly square roof. If you took this piece right here, you can see its edge, and flipped it back onto this roof and glued it back on, it starts to look more and more like a roof. If you took this wall down here and went over to your local Mars Automotive Repair Center, put it in a frame bender, brought it back, you'd have a straight wall. You could put it right here, and then you'd have an entrance. There, an entrance. Here, an entrance to a house. Let me make an exclamation point. Maybe a couple more. This is the remnants of an ancient Martian home. I was watching a YouTube video, Dr. John Brandenburg. He's presented a theory that Mars was once a lot like Earth, maybe for 4 billion years or more, but was devastated by a thermonuclear bomb. He says that the chemical conditions on Mars and the atmosphere today has a huge excess of radiation, especially xenon-129. And here's a quote: consistent with a large thermonuclear weapon mid-air explosion in the past. You can see that this explosion came right through here. It not only ripped this piece off, but it took out this other piece of the roof right here. You could literally put this one back here, take this one and flip it over there, and you'd have a complete roof. It's like taking these pieces with a graphic program and using perspective software and put this back together. But before I show you that picture, I want to show you some pictures of basalt in its use in earthly houses. Here's a photo of basalt reinforced concrete that's being sold on Earth. This is David South, president of the Monolith Dome Institute, demonstrating these basalt building techniques. You can notice the grid here, especially that's coming through. Well, they use a concrete material, but you can use fiberglass also. It'll have a similar effect. This grid can be formed into a solid sheet or bent, as you would bend fiberglass in doing body work. Here's another example of their work. It's a dome house. There's a door on the other side, and these homes can be furnished in any size you want. I'll show you some more examples of basalt walls and how they're used on Mars. We'll zoom into our gigapan here. And at this point, we come to a section that has a straight wall foundation. And you can see that the basalt is sandwiched right in between the two outer skins, just like a peanut butter sandwich. You can also see a lot of the basalt is cracked out of its walls. No matter where you look, you see this basalt all over the place. There's pieces of it right here. It's another chunk of wall. So you have to be careful when analyzing your photos, because sometimes this stuff takes on bizarre looks and you start getting pareidolia. So just be careful in your analysis. But start to look for the stuff in your own photos, and you might see the same type of building material. But always remember that these walls could be millions of years old. This could have gone through a nuclear explosion, so it's always going to be difficult to find the pieces. I think in the case of this hill, it was probably protected from the blast somewhat because it's on the opposite side of this hill. So the blast came over like this and might have been more lenient on some of these pieces. Let's go back up to our house, our Martian house owned by aliens. Now I have a treat for you. I've taken these pieces and reconstructed everything to give you a view of what this will look like before the blast. Here it is, the Martian basalt house. You ask, Bob, how did you put this together? The answer is very carefully. I worked hours cutting pieces out here, repositioning them. You put them in perspective software so that things closest to you are larger, the pieces farther away are smaller, so you get an accurate perspective. And this is how the pieces fit together. You can readily see the roof here. I found down the hill 2 square pieces like this that I used for windows. I found a door with some hinges on it and like a pulling arm. I'll show you these artifacts in another video. I left in all of this rubble so that you could keep a reference on the original picture. Here's what it looked like before and after. I'll draw in an arrow for you so you can see how the blast came through. There was probably a time when this hill could have been green, maybe overlooking the lake. Little Martian toddlers running around. Those of you with hyperopia still aren't convinced? Here, I'll show you another house. Let's move down the hill from this beautiful statue. We'll take a little stroll in our Martian neighborhood. There's the Basalt house. Let's move down. Well, look at this piece here. Right there. It looks like a rock, but this is the exact shape of the roof I just showed you. at the other house. You can see here it just slightly deformed, but it has more of a pyramidal structure. Unbelievable. It's like it was lifted right off a house up the hill. Let's go to this one here. Looks like beige rocks, or beige hill with blue rocks on it. Until you get in closer and realize that these aren't rocks. This has our basalt walls in there. See how there you can see all kinds of grid structure, exterior plaster. When we go over to this big bulge here, you can tell how this house was affected by the blast. I'll get a full shot of it here. Coming right over the hill. It literally blew the roof off, collapsed the walls, and collapsed this section down here. You can see here how this was floor layers. It almost looks like a multi-floor house. As you get in closer, look at the walls. One there, one turned upside down, falling in this way. And when we go over to this piece on the end, you can see how this globular structure here just melted right over the edge, left an opening, cracks, splits. And even as you look closer, down underneath, you can see a segment of the skin of the wall that's actually peeling off of this, the wall of this house. Now, as we see this and realize this was the inhabitants of this neighborhood went through a horrific experience, and you have to be reverent of what took place here. You know, hopefully they got out before the blast. Maybe some came to Earth. Maybe this is the home of our ancient alien ancestors. But here's another thing I spotted. Let's move around to this side. Over here, another piece of roof or wall. But look what's lying here amongst this niche. It's a head. He's a pretty scary looking guy. I mean, I hope he's a gargoyle and not a self-portrait. But it brings up the fact that I found a related looking thing down the hill. It's a skull. You can see the eyes right here. They're even slanted. There's the nose. Part of the mandible is missing. But I found this laying at the base of the hill. It was very smooth amongst a whole bunch of coarse rubble. Interestingly, very high forehead. And this area here is almost like an indentation. Maybe a reptilian look. I also found right along the peak of the skull were little points, and in the middle was almost a horn-like thing. More little points, and then back around. What do you think? It's a pretty convincing skull. basalt statues. I searched the internet and discovered that basalt is used, especially in ancient civilizations, for making sculptures and statues. Here in the middle is our Martian statue. This one on the left is from Egypt. It's over 2,000 years old, but was never exposed to any kind of exterior weather. Over on the right side is another basalt vase. So the material is very flexible. In addition to building reinforcements, it can be forged or formed into pottery and sculpture. But look at how similar this is. Her headdresses. And the fact they're paying reference to women in their culture. Here we are back on the hill. I just want to pan over to the other side here and show you that these blue-gray pieces are everywhere. Let's move in and look at this one. Looks like a gray rock until you get close and realize there is the basalt grid wrapped in a plaster. It's a wall. And you can see how it's been melted. It literally melted and folded over, and some pieces fell off of it as it probably flew down the hill from somebody's roof. And as you go across this hill, the fragments everywhere. And every one you hone in on, you'll see this same thing is going on. Look at these two pieces here. This one has a board attached to it. You can see the board right there. It runs perpendicular to this piece. It was probably a door jamb. And I hope I've shown you some of the basic building techniques that you can start to look for in your own photos. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and watch out for my upcoming videos of Mars reconstructions. We'll see you again with more alien views. Bye now.